I am Christian. Sorry, let me take a quick look at my notes. Here we go. So I have some questions to get this conversation started, but of course, this is about you, so get your questions ready. Feel free to interrupt. Probably we'll have a microphone around. Don't just stand up and shout. Welcome to Mexico.
Hello, hola.
Hola.
Yeah, gracias.
Welcome to Guadalajara.
Excited to be here. Oh, does this work?
I think it's probably off. Let me switch it real quick for you.
I can also just talk really loudly. Nice to be here, everybody. I'm telling you, I could probably talk all the way to the outside.
Can I borrow that? Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. So, probably we can get this fixed. So, for questions, and I'm just going to start with a very simple, but probably not that simple question, and that is, what makes a great portfolio?
Want me to start?
Well, I think it depends on the type of portfolio that you have. If you, I specialize in looking at portfolios that do design and paint, and that includes character design, visual development, background design, background paint, concept art. So I think when you're looking at a portfolio like that, we are typically looking for people who understand the fundamentals of art. So understanding anatomy for character design or shape language, understanding color theory, understanding perspective, understanding ways that you can showcase your storytelling abilities through just design and paint. So people can look at your art and understand what you're saying as an artist, and really kind of how you shine as an artist in the ways that the characters that you're designing, what kind of stories are they telling, the backgrounds that you're designing, what kind of worlds are you inventing. But I think it's hard because every studio is looking for something a little bit different, but most of them are still looking for you to have those basic fundamental kind of design concepts in mind. So I implore all of you, as you're out here, draw every day, go to figure drawing classes, go and do plein air painting, go and do color studies, do master studies, copy your favorite cartoons and understand how they work and how they move to help you in your own portfolio.
Yeah, all really, really great advice. I think other things that we look for in a portfolio is your contact information. We want to be able to contact you. So please put an email address, a phone number, your LinkedIn, your Instagram, whatever way that we can reach out to you. We also want to know, what do you want to do? Do you want to do character designs, backgrounds, storyboards? Let us know specifically what you want to do. If you're on the Viz Dev track and you have a little bit of everything, that's also okay. But again, tell us what you want to do. Also make sure that your portfolio is legible and easy to navigate. We want to make sure that your best work is at the top. Anything that you are most proud of, the projects that you want to work on, are in your portfolio. And keep it clean, keep it simple. Recruiters, hiring managers, we only spend maybe 5-10 minutes at the most, and that's really deep diving into your portfolio. So don't put everything that you've worked on, but put the things that you're most proud of and the things that you think are industry ready. I focus on storyboards, and so a lot of the times when I'm looking for story, I'm looking for story. What does your storyboard tell me? And I'm not looking for 500 panels. We're looking for maybe anywhere between 50 to 100 of your best scene, whether it's an action scene, a drama scene, something that's emotional, a comedy piece, anything that's going to show us your story chops, whether it's in 2D or in CG for your storytelling ability. Make sure that there's always a good camera angle. Make sure that you're always moving the camera, making it cinematographic, that there's perspective that goes between any portfolio that you're working on.
And then I'd also add, if you can, make a portfolio website. Don't have it as like a PDF or even send us a Behance or ArtStation link. Usually your portfolio website allows you to go exactly what Melanie said, allows you to cater your artwork so that way you can actually showcase your best work. And you don't want anybody dropping into a Behance site or an ArtStation or even an Instagram that doesn't showcase your work in the highest possible quality, along with showcasing your best work and curating what really should be there for recruiters to see.
Yeah, and to add to that, sorry, this is going to happen a lot. If you are making a website, there are a lot of free resources out there. You don't have to pay for something. So start there and then work your way up to something when you're later on in your career. Okay, now, yeah.
Thank you.
Those are some great starting points. Get your questions ready. And now let's talk red flags. Can we get into some portfolio no-nos that jump right off your head?
I would say don't have a lot of fan art on your website or your portfolio. I think that kind of showcases that you're more of, you just specifically want to work on like a very niche project. I would say it speaks more as an artist if you can showcase maybe that same style, but do your own story and showcase something that that kind of goes to who you are as a person and as an artist. But yeah, I would say fan art is one of the kind of red flags that I see. And then also like if you do have fan art, that's something that you can put into like a personal section in a website or put it on your Instagram. That's awesome. But not necessarily have that as a showcase of like you drawing in Invader Zim style or you drawing, Avatar: The Last Airbender, all the characters that, are your favorite or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that as an artist, your portfolio is your resume. It's your application. So how do you want the company or the industry to see what it is that you're putting forward? Again, fan art, although it's a lot of fun, we want to see as you as an artist and what you're going to be doing and what you're going to contribute to the company. I think other big red flags are, like I mentioned, not putting too much on your portfolio. You want to put maybe 3 to 5 pieces that are your best pieces of work on there that you want to work on. And please remember that it has to be something you want to work on, because if a hiring manager likes the one piece that you didn't really like, but you got good feedback on and they want to hire you for that project, now you're working on a project that you don't really like, but you're going to work on because you have a job, right? So you want to make sure that you're loving the passion for your craft.
I would also say make sure that all of the artwork that you're adding to your portfolio is digital and it's not scans of your student work that was on pen and paper or on pen and charcoal or whatever. I think that's also a red flag that showcases that you don't have, or you might not be ready to be working in programs like Photoshop or Illustrator. So you want to be able to showcase your work digitally. So if you have any old student work that you drew on pen and paper, I would suggest scanning that, throwing it into Photoshop, and then redoing it in Photoshop to make it a digital piece. But that's one of the things I see the most where I just get confused where I'm like, do they know how to use Photoshop? So you don't want anyone ever questioning whether you know how to use the programs that you'll need for your job.
Yeah, and similarly, Nickelodeon uses Storyboard Pro. Sometimes we use Photoshop, but if you look at a job description of a posting, you'll see what the tools are that the company is using or that specific role. So that's your cheat sheet, by the way. Job descriptions and applications are your cheat sheet. So that's really what they'll be looking for. I think another red flag, again, this counteracts what I said earlier, but not putting your contact information on your portfolio is a red flag to me. You're also not really in a space where, like, you should always want someone to contact you, and if they reach out to you, just say, I'm not free right now. That's totally okay. And passwords. If you are a student, if you're not working on something that needs an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement, don't put passwords on your portfolio unless it's something that is confidential, hasn't been screened yet, or you've been given other instructions from legal to not post it. Make your work visible so that we can see it.
Amazing. And yeah, I really can't stretch this point. Have no idea how many portfolios, pitch Bibles I've seen in my whole life that miss the contact information. So yeah.
Big
yeah.
deal.
Yeah, big deal. Okay, so let's say you make this great portfolio, and we can get back on that with your questions, and you land an interview. What are your top tips to get ready for an interview?
Ooh, so I love this question. So I think the biggest thing, so if you got the interview and they've already loved your portfolio, the interview is just checking to see that you're going to be able to work with the team and that you're able to meet deadlines and able to talk about it. So relax, take a moment to breathe. You're just talking about yourself, and no one knows you better than you and what you've done. So don't worry about it. Go in there, have the conversation, laugh, talk about any of the animation things that are going on, either at the studio, nerd out about it. That's the time when you can actually talk to people about the animation world and why you love it so much.
I mean, that's probably the best advice that I could give as well. Really, when the recruiter sends you to the interview stage, that means that they liked you, the team liked you. We're all rooting for you to get the job. So I would say have that in mind as you go into the interview. I wouldn't be nervous. Just, like Melanie said, be yourself. Showcase that you have a can-do attitude. You're somebody that's easy to work with, somebody that's going to take feedback well, somebody that wants to, do more on the team and, go above and beyond. And usually that speaks volumes. And so I can't tell you how many times somebody who was hiring an artist has told me that they wanted to hire them just because how positive of an attitude that they had and how they felt that they were going to be somebody who was going to be easy to work with and somebody who wants to be there and is going to kind of push themselves, even though they might not have had as much experience as another artist.
Yeah, absolutely. The animation industry is large but really small. And so everybody only wants to work with nice people, and day in and day out, all my hiring managers will always tell me, I can teach them how to do the fundamentals and I can teach them how to do things, but I can't teach somebody to be nice. I can't teach somebody how to work with a team or learn how to communicate well when they're having problems or, anything's going on. So it's super important that, you as an individual also check yourself. If you're not getting interviews, if you're going through things, take a moment, take a step back. It's okay. Then go back into everything. But yeah, more than anything, recruiters are your champions. We're there for you. We want you to get the job more than anything so that as a recruiter, to be honest, we can move on to the next opportunity. We want you to land the job, get your career so that we can also keep going and get other people their careers. So, be patient with recruiters, but I promise you, we're there to champion for you.
100%.
So it's all about teamwork and don't be a jerk.
Yes, really big.
Just to add, I think there was a talk yesterday, but they said that they had a no assholes policy, and I can guarantee you that every studio has that now. Most of the people don't want, even if you're the most talented artist,
Yes.
they might freelance with you, but they don't want to bring you on full time. So just keep that in mind. Be someone nice to work with.
Yes.
So yes, so we're all here for the passion of art, but we also have to pay the tacos, right? So what is the best moment to discuss salary?
Salary, you can talk about salary at any time, but as a recruiter, we want to know right in the beginning. And the reason why we want to know in the beginning is, one, it gives you peace of mind telling us, and we can tell you also what salary expectations are. And if you're not in range, then our hiring teams don't have to go through the process of following in love with you and your artwork and everything, only to know that we can't hire you. So you can talk about salary right up in the beginning. Recruiters, it is a normal conversation with us. It is very casual. It's not awkward at all. Please don't feel uncomfortable talking about money. I think if there's anything recruiters understand, you have to get paid. You got to eat the tacos, like Christian said. I got to eat the tacos, right? So it's okay. There's no issue at any point to talk about it.
And I think to add to that, if you don't know what is a good salary, there are many online resources for you to check. So go out there and look on Glassdoor.com or even look up Animation Union Guild. Usually they have a good idea of what people in Los Angeles are getting paid. And that can give you a good idea of like where you can ask for sort of what your salary would be.
Great. And this is going to be my last question, and then we'll start with all of yours. So there's always so people don't just run up to you with their portfolios. What is the best way to contact recruiters and to get to find these job opportunities?
You want to go?
Go. I would say a lot of times social media is a great way for you to just advertise that you're looking, and that's a way that we find you. But checking job sites, also doing things like Rise Up Animation, because I know that's open to international as well. Signing up for talks through Latinx and animation, and connecting with a lot of people. So that way you know when, or they know when opportunities are around and they can tell you. So every studio operates a little differently when it comes to jobs and posting. So you're not always guaranteed if you apply to a job posting that that job hasn't already been filled or there's somebody that they have in mind. So my best advice is be that someone that they have in mind. And that comes through networking and understanding, what types of jobs are out there and how you're qualified to fit those jobs. So just go out there, social media, advertise yourself, and connect with as many recruiters as you can. Attend as many conferences like this, or see if you can do virtual ones as well. So that way you can just be more presentable to, or more ready, or I guess more easily accessible to recruiters who are looking, and they can keep you in mind for when that next opportunity comes in mind. Because at the end of the day, we're always out there looking at portfolios and Instagrams and social media. And so we usually have a list of people in mind for certain types of projects, whether those are comedy, action, adventure, horror, whatever it is. We are the ones who are keeping you in mind for those opportunities. So your best way to find those jobs is to promote yourself.
Yeah, absolutely what Carlos said. I think it's also important to remember, like, you can reach out to a recruiter on any platform, apply to a job, but also remember there are a lot of you that are reaching out to us. So it might take us a moment to respond, and that's okay. I think for me, the best way to contact a recruiter of any means is to contact us, letting us know that you saw something that you're interested in and that your work in your portfolio actually applies to that studio. For example, for Nickelodeon, if you have kids, comedy, action, adventure, a little bit of drama, those are the things that we're looking for. But if you apply and you reach out to me and you have gore, blood, violence, profanity, I'm not going to be, interested in that. I'm not seeing SpongeBob getting ripped up, right? So apply to the studio with the work that you want to do and the work that you love to do. And a lot of people in the animation space love kids animation, but it's like, what in kids animation do you want to work in? Preschool is also completely different than big kids, and being in that space and that like research and educational aspect of it. But reach out to us knowing that you have a mission to reach out. The one big no-no that I will say is please don't reach out and say, what jobs do you have for me? Because we have a lot of jobs online, whether it's through social media, through our job sites, through just word of mouth. There's always things that are going on at the studio. So make sure that when you're reaching out, it's with intent.
Cool. So I know you probably have some questions. Si alguien me puede ayudar a pasar el micrófono, por favor. In the meantime, I can get this started. So,
I will translate the question.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I figured there's going to be a lot of people who will ask the question in Spanish.
No, I'm sure Christian.
Well, I'm sure he might also translate it.
Hi, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I have a question about portfolios. What do you think about, for example, like making your portfolio about backgrounds, but you have different styles of backgrounds? Is it okay to have a diversified style or to have like your own style that it's constant or in all your work?
I think for that, it depends on the studio. There are some studios that like to see you have a range of styles. But speaking for Nickelodeon, or Netflix, not Nickelodeon.
I was like, ooh, we work together.
Speaking for Netflix, we usually like to see your own personal art style, and we want to see that in the most, like we want you to perfect your style, and for you to really understand your style, to be able to showcase your storytelling abilities. So something that I recommend for people doing background portfolios is take some of your favorite pieces of film or TV or books, and do some of the scenes from that, or do some of the environments or the worlds from those things, and showcase that in your style. So that kind of showcases, gives some recruiters sort of a sense of like where in the world this would be, or where, where in literature or film or TV this would be, and then seeing it in your style helps recruiters understand like, oh, I understand, I see, how they're taking, say, Pinocchio and like doing all the famous scenes in your style. And so I would say that's sort of like, at least for the bigger, at least Netflix, not Nickelodeon. I don't know if you want to say something different.
I will say something, don't worry.
But yeah, so I think it helps us, and it helps also the art director to understand your personal style, and also showcase how you get to that as well. So showcase your thought process. So go through the thumbnails of the thumbnail sketches of your worlds and environments. Showcase, what you're pulling reference from. If there's specific pieces of art or things in the world that you're pulling from to create, the shape language of the trees or the shapes of the architecture. So that kind of stuff.
Okay. For Nickelodeon, we also love to see personal range of style for background stories, anything. But we want to see versatility, and we want to be able to see a range of things that you can do. Simply because when you're done with the one production, we want to be able to transition you into another production. And so having a variety also within a show, you can be doing different things of one of your pieces. And we want to know that you have the ability to understand, to be able to do something different if needed, and that you're not, pigeonholed to one thing. So variety of style for Nickelodeon is really great.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Carlos, go for it.
I'll go.
Do you think there's still discrimination towards certain groups of people in the industry? Is it more difficult for, I don't know, like us as Mexicans to get into a big studio or something like that?
You want me to go with this? So it breaks my heart that you say that. It really breaks my heart. Specifically at Nickelodeon, no, that is not the case. We are constantly working and trying to diversify our storytelling and the cast that's behind it. So the artists, the production folks, the actual showrunners. It really does break my heart, and I feel like I want to cry now. We work and partner with Rise of Animation, Asians in Animation, Latinx in Animation to provide a space for people to stand up and tell their story. Stories that come authentically from people, from any person, is the best story that's going to be coming forward. So we are constantly, it's a battle in every industry, I want to say, for every person, but internally we are doing everything that we can to do that.
And for Netflix, since our brand is global and reaches every part of the world, and we try to tell stories as authentically to the country that they're from, we try to hire people from those countries to tell the story. For example, for Maya and the Three, Jorge Gutierrez actually hired the Awesome Bros, which they're around here somewhere. But he wanted their perspective on his story. And so he wanted to make sure that the people who are telling these stories come from the backgrounds that they're from. Because those people will know these stories more intimately than anyone from other cultures. And it's true, artists can be versatile and they can learn, they can read, they can pick up other cultures and stuff, but you want to be able to, or at least as a recruiter, we want to be able to bring people onto our projects that can be that voice of authenticity and can really showcase parts of the culture that might fall on deaf ears for other people who don't come from that culture. So yeah, and then also we spend a lot of time training our showrunners and our directors and our production designers and art directors the importance of bringing people from these backgrounds to their projects, especially when they're not from the culture. So yeah, we're always training. We're always trying to make sure that people understand the importance of having authentic voices in the room to actually speak to the stories that we're making that go onto Netflix.
Thank you.
Let's do one in the back. The hat.
Good thing you put the hat up. We saw that really easily. People are starting to throw things up now.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you very much for all the tips and information. ¿Me paro? Okay. In regards to the topic of recruitment, I have, for foreign artists like us who live in another country, to be able to move into, for example, California, does Netflix and Nickelodeon offer any kind of help for foreign artists, or that is like a -1 point in the list of recruiting artists? And also, specifically for Carlos, yesterday we had some conference when some artists mentioned that in the case of Netflix, there was this case for artists that, specifically I think for showrunners, that they needed a manager to be hired for Netflix before. I don't know, I wanted to confirm, as currently, is it required for artists to have a manager to go into selling a pitch or an idea, or yes or no? That.
I'll answer the pitch thing because I think that's something that everybody asks about pitching their own shows. Most studios require you to have some form of representation, whether that's a manager or some sort of legal person that can kind of be your guidance to like help with doing those introductions to content executives or executives. I mean, it's not always required, but it's highly recommended, especially because if you're a first-time creator, like you want to be able to have somebody in the room who can speak to you and understands the contracts that might be given to you. Yeah, at least for Netflix, like we don't take any unsolicited pitches, at least the recruiters do. If you see a content executive out there and you're like, hey, I want to pitch you my idea, like by all means, go for it. But I would say they're probably going to also ask you, like, who are you represented by anybody? Like, is there anybody that I should talk to about your idea? And the other thing with that as well is because we never want to be in a legal situation that you pitched us an idea and we have that same idea or something similar like that already in our studio that we're working on. And then you see that and you're like, hey, that's the idea that I pitched. But, a year later, because animation takes forever to develop, you're seeing that on Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or Netflix, and you're like, hey, that was the same idea that I talked to somebody from Netflix about. And then you're, saying like, I'm going to sue you because, that's my idea. So that's sort of also why the representation thing is usually the case with most people who are pitching, because you want to have somebody in the room that like can prove to the fact that you pitched them that idea, and that's what they, and that's somehow what they made a year later. But, I'm sorry, what was the first part of your question again?
Yeah. In the case for foreign artists, people who are that are applying for jobs, for example, us here, that most of us are from Mexico or other parts of Latin America, the fact that we are from another country and we are not currently living on California, is it like a negative at the time of saying, oh, well, this guy is really good, but we'll have to move him from another country? Or it is more recommendable for us to already be living in California and applying?
You want me to start? Yeah. So for Nickelodeon, we can hire somebody anywhere in the world as a freelancer and as a contractor. But when it comes to being a staff employee, Nickelodeon is a part of a local union in Los Angeles. And depending on what the government regulations are in the US, that's what we're usually following. It's not that it hasn't happened, it's a case-by-case scenario.
Ditto. Pretty much Netflix has the same rule, although Netflix usually has, we put money aside to be able to hire people if they do need visas or relocation. That depends from project to project. Usually the more higher level the project is, the more likely we are to have money in the production's budget to be able to bring on people from a foreign country. But usually the quickest and easiest way for us to work with somebody who is based in Mexico or any part of Latin America is usually through freelance means. So hiring you as a freelancer or a contractor, and that could sometimes be, range from like, a couple of weeks to like might even be like almost the whole project, because there have been projects that I've worked on where a freelancer has been hired doing part-time or almost full-time work throughout the entire project. And so, that kind of goes back to self-advertising yourself, putting yourself on social media, because usually when we're looking for very specific or we're making a very specific show taking place in a very specific part of the world, we look for artists from those places. And so finding people from Guadalajara, finding people from different other parts of Mexico, other parts of Latin America, we will go out of our way to find people who have those authentic voices to bring onto our team, to bring onto that show or movie.
She really wants to ask a question. She even came to the front to ask a question.
Hello.
Hi.
I have a similar question to the one that was first asked, and it's about I'm trying to get into visual development, and as much as I've heard about it, you should be able to, you should apply to the job that best fits your style. But I've also heard that it's nice for you to have a wide range of different styles that you can do, so that they can hire you into different projects if for some reason the project that you're in ends or whatever. So I really don't know, like, is it a case-by-case scenario? What do you have to say about that? Because if I wait for a project that best fits my style, I could be waiting forever, It's, what should I do? What should we do? Should we specifically, like, do our work to work in something specific? Or I don't know, what do you have to say about that?
So when it comes to that, I think you should work specifically for a studio, if that makes sense. Meaning each studio has their own style.
But don't you think that's gonna take forever?
Well, not necessarily, because it depends on, like, if you're already matching the studio style, then you'll get noticed by the studio. If you and you also need to work in your own personal style to add to the studio. But again, if you're working for like Nickelodeon, we're a really cartoony show. We have some realism in it, but again, the majority of the things that we're doing are very cartoony. And so if you're working on something that is completely realistic and in that realism space, there's fewer things that you can land, but there are still opportunities within that studio. Again, within telling that story ability. I think when it comes to variety, it's variety of what you're doing. So being able to, for stories, being able to do an action story, a comedy story, a little bit of everything in that one specific area. And then I don't know about world building, because I mean, VizDev is your space.
Yeah. I think for world building, it helps to showcase, well, I mean, for you as an artist, I think it's also good to just remember that the things that are inspiring you to draw are inspiring somebody else who's also making shows to draw. And so a lot of people worry that only having their style, they might not ever get a job. But I think it's important to remember that your influences are someone else's influences out there who are making shows and who are pitching shows. And so there will come a time where your style is going to fit exactly what somebody else is looking for. And I think it may take some time, but kind of going to what Melanie said, that they're showcasing that variety in your own portfolio also helps to showcase what else you can do. But I wouldn't get discouraged that, you know, having something in your own personal style, you might not ever get a job because your influences are someone else's influences. And I promise you that type of show, like there's usually, if you look through animation history, a lot of similar styles pop up again. And a lot of those people are inspired by the same things. Like in, for example, rubber hose animation in the early 20s and 30s, then came back with Adventure Time. And then everybody started drawing rubber hose style again. And that was also a big influence for Mickey Mouse cartoons, and then the Looney Tune cartoons as well. So, and those people had stayed within their style, and a lot of them have worked on things like SpongeBob as well. So kind of showcasing that, like, a lot of times the styles that you think you're very unique to your own are actually inspired by things from the past. And so that then inspires other people to create their own shows and then hire people who work in the style that you're doing. So I think don't get discouraged. You can work in your style and also, you know, keep in mind that you can also diversify if you need to.
But work towards a goal.
Yeah, work towards the goal of a specific type of you know, show or film that you would like to work on, whether that's, you know, like something more cartoony, something more feature, something more you know, horror or scary or whatever. But it kind of gives you a good sense of who you are as an artist, so that way when people like myself or Melanie are looking at your portfolio, we understand whether it's a fit for the studio or not.
All right. Thank you so much.
I'll let you pick.
Oh, I saw this gentleman in the black shirt. Yeah. Right when questions start. Bing. My life is in it.
Thank you. First off, thank you for sharing with us this information. Second of it, I love your pronunciation of Guadalajara.
Good job. Don't ask.
And are you in charge of recruiting writing persons like storytelling? I know due to the legal problems that can get to arrive, when I get you this idea, this story, and oh no, this is so similar to one thing we're already producing. What is the process? I'm a storyteller. I write, but how is the process? Is very different from all these people in here.
So specifically, so what it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you're talking about like pitching a story or an idea, so as recruiters, like Carlos was saying earlier, we can't take that information. Please don't pitch to us. Please tell your friends not to pitch to us. For the reason of the legalities, if we have something in development already that's like that, then you can come back and say, oh, well, I talked to a recruiter so-and-so, and I already told them that story. If you're interested, you can tell a recruiter or somebody that you're in contact with the studio that you're interested in pitching an idea to the studio. And then they can put you in contact to the person in charge or the people in charge of pitching ideas. And then you can go through the channels that way. When it comes to just like normal writing and animation writing, because that also happens when you're not creating your own story, but let's say you want to work on Rugrats or you want to work on SpongeBob, and so you have those funny things, you can send your personal writing samples to the recruiters, and then we can share that with the show. But again, it's not your own like story, your own ideation. It's something that can add to the current series or feature that's going on. We have someone standing up in the back.
Yeah. In the back.
Sorry. Thank you. I appreciate you.
So we probably have time for 2 more, this and 1 more, okay?
Are you going to meet with people after this?
Yeah.
Well, hi, good morning.
Oh, I cannot hear that.
Is there any way to get portfolio feedback from recruiters?
Getting portfolio feedback from recruiters?
Yeah.
Yeah, funny you asked that. So at 4 o'clock today, I'm going to be out doing portfolio reviews, so you can sign up. I specifically do storyboards. When it comes to like cold contacting a recruiter, I think that's a little bit more challenging to be like, hey, can you review my portfolio? Only because we are so busy. So finding time to go to a conference like this, being a part of Latinx in Animation, any Rise Up Animation, any of those groups, you can get your portfolio reviewed there all the time. There are constantly mentors from the industry, hiring managers, recruiters that are taking time outside of their day to provide that, support to the industry.
Going back to what Melanie said, for me, I usually take about 10 portfolio reviews through Rise Up Animation every month. So, and usually the list is like about 100 people. So I highly recommend signing up for Rise Up Animation. It's all in English, but I don't think it gets translated. But riseupanimation.com and sign up to be a mentee. And they're an international studio, and it's not just myself that's on there. It's almost everybody that I work with as well. A lot of recruiters, a lot of people in the industry are looking to help you with your portfolio. So if you can't attend conferences like this regularly, or you have other things to do, it's a way to put yourself out there and get feedback on your portfolio. But I may or may not be there at 4. Still have to figure that out. But if I am, look for me, and I focus on visual development, character design, background paint, and color design. So hopefully I'll be there.
I think other things also, there are a lot of online resources now, especially after the blurry 2 years that we went through, that a lot of studios have been putting up. So like Nickelodeon, we have what's called Nick 101, Animation 101 on YouTube, where we talk about storyboarding, 2D pipeline, CG pipeline, CG reels. We go through all sorts of different ways for you to have more information about your portfolio, what we're looking for as a studio.
+1 to that, yes. Do 100%. There are so many resources right now that every studio is doing. And also, like, on YouTube, a lot of artists themselves have just put out there how to create a visual development portfolio or a character design portfolio. The other thing I'd recommend is also looking up the artists that work on your favorite shows and finding their social medias and social media presence and portfolios online, and looking to see what quality and quantity of work that they have in their portfolios to help you compare your own portfolio. So that way you can see sort of the caliber of the artist that is out there working in animation, and push yourself to get to that level.
Ooh, I'm going to +1 to that, sorry. And when you go to follow those artists, you can reach out to them. Majority of the time, they remember what it was like to be in your shoes, starting out, not having that first job, and then getting into the industry. So the one thing I love about this animation industry is everyone is so willing to give back and to throw the ladder down to help more people come up to where they are. So you can reach out to them, and the worst thing that happens is they don't respond because they're busy. That's it, right? You put yourself out there, and if they do respond, great. Last one.
And before we do the last one, I just wanted to add, because a lot of things that we've been talking about here is don't forget to network. I know a lot of you are most interested speaking with the speakers and the people presenting the panels, but amongst the audience, we have people that are mentors in Rise Up Animation. We have managers that are visiting the event. We have a bunch of people from, actually, the people that run Latinx and animation are here. So without always being respectful, don't be pushy, but speak with everyone, just network, and yeah. And okay, oh no, I don't want to pick the last one.
You have to, because I'm not going to.
Okay, so let's go red hair over here.
Nice hair, by the way.
Thanks. What I wanted to ask is, what about those projects that are in development hell, have been canceled? You don't know what part of the development are they in, but you're really proud of the work that you've put up there. Can we still put it in our portfolio, or will it look bad?
So when it comes to projects like that are confidential, always ask the studio. When it's in development, majority of the time, you won't be able to provide it. Or they'll say, okay, you can provide it, but you have to put it behind a password, and only certain people can see it. Recruiters, hiring managers, type of a thing. But always check back with the studio that you are working on that development project in, because at the end of the day, that's their work, even though you worked on it.
Thanks.
And then to add to that, sometimes if you know that it's a fit for whatever project that you're applying for, there sometimes is the possibility of you actually just showing it, like say you are on a Zoom call or something like that, or Google, and then you show it through your own screen to showcase to the art director or the production designer. But usually that's rarer. Like it doesn't usually happen, but sometimes if they like your work and they know that like they just want to see some more professional work, they might ask you to do something like that. And in that case, as long as as long as you're showcasing it on your screen, nobody's recording it, and it's like very quick, I think it's usually good to do something like that. But usually the recruiter will let you know. But yeah, going back to what Melanie said, usually always paths are protected. And usually you can't make a call out to whatever it is that the project that was for. No name, no person attached to it. It usually is very simple, like Nickelodeon development project, Netflix development project, stuff like that. And that's if they give you permission.
Thank you.
Was that it?
So, thank you. There we go. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you so much. Can we get a round of applause for Melanie and Carlos? So keep working on those portfolios, and thank you. We'll see you for the next talk. Gracias.
And if anyone has any more questions, I'm actually going to be right outside and downstairs because I think there might be more room down there. But feel free to meet me. I'll give you a Netflix sticker, and yeah, and then we can chat. I might not be able to chat with everybody, but we'll see how many I can get through.
Yeah, just find me around. I'll be around.
Back to